The success tool last week was neutral observation in the moment. And we showed a little video of this little girl stepping on, this is a glass bridge. She's stepping on the glass bridge. And we talked a little bit like how a crisis looks like this. A crisis looks like we can't recognize the next step. The next step is tremendously uncomfortable. And when we face a crisis, we look inside of us for guidance because the outside seems unknown. And when we look inside of us, we usually see two powerful forces, our instinct and our intuition. Our instinct is the part of us that says, don't go. I don't know what's there. Don't go. And the intuition is the part that says, go. Let's fly. Let's make it happen. It's the fear in motion. So part of last week's work was to bring ourselves to this place of neutral observation. As we are going through this pandemic and we're sitting at home and we're seeing everything that is happening around us and within us, come in contact with what's my instinct calling forward here? What's my intuition calling forward? What is the connection between the two of them inside of me right now? Now, today, we're gonna take that step. You see that she's stepping into the precipice. So what we're gonna do today is break that step into very small parts, because during a crisis, every little step is a big step. We're going to be talking about this movement forward. We're going to be talking about how to go from the fear, the instinct, into the intuition and live with that fear in motion. And in order to do that, we're going to tell you a little story. This is the story of this is Brazil. This is a road in Brazil. It's the road we take to go to, we have a house at the beach, in a tiny little beach called Tabatinga. And from the airport in São Paulo, we take this road to get to Tabatinga. And this is a beautiful road, just like, it's like a dream. There's got the trees on the side, the green trees and the sky, and there's little lakes, and the green is so neon green. The grass is neon green. There's another picture here that maybe shows that. The soil is red. And every time we go through that road, I keep telling my kids to pay attention to the ant houses, because alongside the road, we see ant houses that are huge. And from the road, traveling, 100 miles an hour, we can see these ant houses. 100 kilometers an hour, sorry. Yes, I got confused. We can see those huge ant houses, and my children usually don't believe me. They say, I don't believe those are ant houses. Ants don't build houses like that. And what I tell them is that, yes, they do. And the video that I'm going to show you next it's a very short video on how ants build their houses. So the interesting part about those big constructions is that they build one tiny little pebble at a time, one tiny little step at a time. So the success tool for today is the success tool of the ends, and it's called tiny action steps.
And every time I see that video, and if I look at it just as a neutral observer, I would say, well, that looks like organized chaos. And to a large extent, when a crisis occurs, you see people scurrying around and they're doing things and what have you, but underneath that, there is an organized chaos going on.
Yeah. So the opportunity is to appreciate the power of the organized chaos, the power behind what looks like disorganized, all those tiny little steps. It also calls us into the beauty of the journey, not only the destination. It's not like I'm gonna wait until the big construction is built for me to be happy. It's like being happy in the tiny little steps, recognizing the fulfillment of the movement itself. So we have, forgot what's next. Oh, here, I want to tell you a client story because I want to bring this into reality. I had a client just the day before yesterday. He was a leader in the event entertainment industry. His industry pretty much got devastated. There's no events. And he had to let go of his entire team. And our coaching session was a lot about how devastated he was about having to let go of a great team that he had built for many years. So we worked with all the feelings, you know, the happiness, the sadness and the grief and all the emotions that were present for him. And as we came back to the right here and right now, he was able to start tapping into what could be the blessing behind this? What could be the blessing underneath this? And so he came up with the idea that he had to let everybody go, but he wanted to do that by giving each of them a gift. And so he started meditating on what was the greatest gift that these people had brought to their teams. And I was listening to him and I was expecting him to say, well, you know, this person signed up this big contract, or this other person, you know, changed the company in this way or that way. But what was coming from him is he made a list of everybody. And then he was coming with things like, this person's tone of voice is so sweet and it brings such a calm to me. The other person, he would say, well, this person always had a smile in the coffee breaks. And that smile was so reassuring that everything was going to be okay. Another one was about the good mornings. She had, I guess, a chocolate basket, little container in her desk, and being able to receive a chocolate in the morning with a good morning from her. And so he picked the tiny little things to give everyone, the most ordinary miracles. And he held this meeting with his team. He let everyone go and gave everyone their gift. And after his experience, he texted me, he sent me a text, and he said that he had never felt so good about feeling so bad. And I thought that was a great example for today, you know, because as leaders or parents or teachers, we wait for the A+, you know, we wait for the big projects, we wait for the turnarounds, but we forget that every A+, every big project is made by very small little projects and little steps in between. So the inspiration today is to call ourselves forward into recognizing those tiny actions. And for us to see what tiny actions look like, I have another really cute short video for you. And this video, we did it 12 years ago in a program that we had at the time called Turning Point. And it seems that that program fits right into the world today. But this is the video we did. And this is Cody, our son, when he was less than a year old.
Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings, learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arise. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly. Fly. Into the dark black night.
So that movie, I think it shows, yeah, I just wanna, the movie shows so well the struggle, you know, how hard it is, you know, and he is frustrated and then he's smiling. And then he decides, instead of stand up, let me just roll around. That may work better. So he starts rolling, you know. So tiny steps are steps that don't look, they may not look good. They may not look in order. They don't, like the chaos that Mike was talking about. They may take us in a tangent and then we realize, no, that's not there. Let's go back here. And our ability to recognize in our children, in our family, in the people that work with us or for us, you know, all those tiny steps, and give them, you know, a pat in the back for that. That's what makes for big things.
And the interesting thing, in a child's mindset, they're in the moment. You know, there's no thought in Cody's head to say, I can't do this. I think I'll give up this idea of walking. You know, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I can't do it. They don't even entertain failure. They just entertain the idea that there's an easier way to go from where I am to where I want to go. And you notice when Inely helped him stand up and they started walking, he's looking around like, where do I want to go now that I'm upright and mobile? And so he stays in that moment. And in times of crisis, there's two approaches. Both of them, you know, will serve the human race very well. One is to stay in the moment. The other is to entertain the opportunity that we really have a chance to reimagine what the future will look like. Not to wonder what the new normal is, because the new normal never really seems normal. It seems new, but it doesn't seem normal. And in that process, if we just think about reimagining what the future will look like, I think we would all be surprised as to what the end result is.
Yeah, the next thing we have for you is an inspirational piece. This inspirational piece talks about the climb. And I think as we live through this pandemic and we stay, we learn to appreciate the climb, you know, the hard parts, the parts that are not so fun when we have to stay home and, you know, do our same things every day. To create that ability to appreciate the moment, the climb in every breath. So I invite you to take this song as sort of like an inspiration, not only for your intellect, but most importantly for your cells. Like allow the words, the lyrics of the song to integrate your cells, for all of your being to listen to this. You can meditate upon this song if you'd like. You can stretch, move, and dance. You can simply watch the video, but just allow this song to bathe your consciousness, your body, your cells into a new way of appreciating life at this time. Here you go.
I can almost see it, that dream I'm dreaming, but there's a voice inside my head saying you'll never reach it. Every step I'm taking, every move I make feels lost with no direction. My faith is shaking, but I gotta keep trying. I gotta keep my head held high. There's always gonna be another mountain. Always gonna wanna make it move. Always gonna be an uphill battle. Sometimes I'm gonna have to lose. Ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other side. It's the climb. The struggles I'm facing, the chances I'm taking, sometimes might knock me down, but no, I'm not breaking. I may not know it, but these are the moments that I'm gonna remember most. Yeah, just gotta keep going, and I gotta be strong. Just keep pushing on, 'cause there's always gonna be another mountain. I'm always gonna wanna make it move. Always gonna be an uphill battle. Sometimes I'm gonna have to lose. Ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other side. It's the climb. There's always gonna be another mountain. Always gonna wanna make it move. Always gonna be an uphill battle. Sometimes you gotta have to lose. Ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other side. It's the climb. Keep on moving, keep coming, keep the faith, baby. It's all about the climb. Keep your faith, keep your faith. Whoa.
So the next step, we're going to do a bit of a silence. So just gonna come into resonance with what's present inside of us. I'm gonna time a 3-minute silence. And you can check on these questions. What is my intuition telling me? What are the tiny actions that I am taking in that direction already? And can I just acknowledge myself for them? And just pat in the back. And we're gonna do 3 minutes of just go inside. Maybe you want to close your eyes, if you want to lie down. Or in 3 minutes, my phone will ring, and I will ask you to come back with us here, and then we will have a conversation. So let's start just now. 3 minutes of checking inside and connecting with ourselves, with each other spiritually, connected to a part of us, the intuition, to our divinity, or to the light within us, whatever you want to call it. But the part of us that knows. Yes, here we are. Slowly pull you back. This is one assignment if you'd like to take on for the week, is to continue observing yourself in the moment, your instinct and your intuition. Choose your next tiny action and acknowledge yourself for it. Do your tiny actions and make sure you acknowledge yourselves for it. Okay, now we're gonna stop sharing and we're gonna start on, where did they go? There you are. Okay, that's the presentation part. We have two other people admitting two other people in. This is the part now where we get to talk. And we can talk about anything that has come forward for you, anything that is present as a result of this presentation or a result of whatever is going on in your situation right now. I would like to invite John Dale to initiate the sharing. And I'll ask you every time one of you share, just introduce yourselves beforehand so that everybody can get to know yourselves. So introduce yourselves and do your sharing. And the reason I would like John to initiate is because John was with us last time and he took the leadership. I want to acknowledge, really recognize your leadership, John, because he has a really good idea, I think, for the group. Mike and I has already signed up for his idea, and I want him to just explain what it is so that you know. You go ahead, John. It's all yours.
Okay, thanks. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hi, everyone. And actually, there's a couple people joining that are people from my life. Hi, Cher. So I was talking with Inely about a course that both Inely, Mike, and I have done that the optional third year included a significant portion of the work to do was journaling. And I noticed that in journaling, what I did was give my attention to certain things. I noticed what I was noticing, if you will, by journaling. And in doing that journaling, what I notice I noticed I also got more of. Does that make sense? So you might say it a certain way, like life is a series of 1,000 tiny miracles. Notice them. That's a quote. I don't even know who it comes from. But the more we pay attention to something, the more we get of it in our lives. So if what we're paying attention to is the tiny miracles that we have, we get more of those. If we're paying attention to all the problems that we have, we get more of those too. So in doing this journaling exercise, what it's about is really taking dominion over what you notice, taking dominion over, like, not taking control because that might talk about force, but having, taking the helm of what it is that you pay attention to. And so what I offered to Inely and Mike was that we might do a journaling project together. And what that means is that at least a couple times a week, maybe as much as once per day, what you do is notate that you noticed something. Probably that thing is going to be something where it seems like the universe is smiling upon you. And it could be that you notice this pretty flower, or one of my favorite things, and it's kind of strange that it's so tiny, but it meant so much to me. I had this bottle in my hand and it was empty and I didn't know what to do with it. And I was walking around the streets of a big city, and it was a big city that didn't necessarily have recycling bins in it. And so I was kind of I was struggling with, am I going to hold on to this bottle all day? And yet when I walked around the corner, there was a recycling bin and I got to put it in. And that became this, like, the universe taking care of me. And I got to notice how much the universe took care of me. So, so this leadership journaling project is about a couple times a week, maybe as much as once a day, making a notation in a journal. It's also about having a journaling partner with whom you will, wait, let me back up a second. So you notice those items, and then once a week, you spend 5 minutes, not a lot of time. Once a week, you spend 5 minutes answering the question, what are you noticing? What are you noticing? And in that, you start to collect the experience. That answering that question, what are you noticing, is something that I'd love you to share with someone else in this group. I'd like you to offer it to someone else and receive what they're noticing, so that it kind of compounds the noticing, it kind of compounds the creation of what is happening. Am I speaking with clarity?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So the idea is, are you interested in doing this journaling project? If so, please let me know. Maybe you could share your email address in the chat, and then I can send you a little write-up that I wrote about, like, kind of technically what it is. It's not much more complicated than I just said. But if you can send me a private message in the chat, or you could send me a public message to everybody. If you send me your email address, I'll send you a little document. If you have any questions, please feel free to, I'll send you my, in that email, I'll send you my phone numbers and my Facebook in case you want to contact me that way. And I'll create some groups for us, yeah? Or some partnerships for us. Does anybody have any questions? Is that something that you're interested in doing? I see a couple people have already sent me an email.
This is Dr. C-Love. I just wanted to say this is a wonderful idea. So thank you so much for bringing this forward.
Cool. Thanks. Thanks, yeah. Dr. C-Love. And I, if there's, so this journaling doesn't have to be limited to this group. If there's other people you'd like to join, please feel free to add them, or please feel free to have them add themselves. Cool. Okay.
John, could you tell everybody where you're speaking to us from?
Sure. Actually, I didn't do much of an introduction of myself. My name's John Dale. I live in Thailand. I live in Chiang Mai, Thailand. I am a spiritual counselor. I talk to people about connecting with the peace in their soul. And what that means is that no matter what the surface of the pond looks like, there's always the cool, still water at the bottom. And how do we experience that while the surface might be having ripples?
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
That's beautiful, John. I really appreciate you participating this way and you being the leader for our interaction and our connection and our deepening into this, what we can gain for ourselves and share with others. Thank you for doing this.